Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain. Oh man, this game takes me back, baby. I've been wanting to talk about this game, this motherfucking game, for so long. I was so hyped when this game was announced because of this shot. This one shot was the start of my disappointment. He had this look of pain and sadness in his eyes, like, damn, this is it. This is gonna be the darkest Metal Gear Solid game yet. Because they hadn't done that up to that point yet. Not now. Up until now, it could get a little dark, but this trailer let you know it was gonna be brutal this time around. You see, Big Boss's character kind of goes through a bit of an interesting arc. In the first game, he's your commander, always there to give you a helping hand, then he betrays you. In the sequel, he's this psychopathic war criminal who uses children to fight endless wars. Wow, what an asshole. But then, surprise, turns out he wasn't always an asshole. Turns out he was a pretty nice guy, but his own mentor that he admired took a fall because of a shady US government Cold War conspiracy. So he's a little upset, he's a little angry, and finally he has this big old bittersweet death. Like, oh, I guess he wasn't such a bad guy. So, you know, from this to this to this, I don't have to suspend my disbelief too much. He's a young, disillusioned rookie with plenty of time to get to this point. It's all left open to interpretation how exactly he got here, but we now see how that seed was planted. We don't explicitly need to see how he got here, but then they had to go ahead and make Peace Walker. In this one, Big Boss, he's still a pretty nice guy, I would say. I'd say he's still a hero, but he's definitely got a little bit more grit. He's aged a little. He's a little more cynical than he was previously. I'd say we'd enter into anti-hero territory in this game. Again, the game ends and you're like, all right, I can kind of see how we get from here to here. He still seems like a pretty decent guy with some values, but acknowledges he's gonna have to do some bad stuff.
This is outer heaven.
Okay, so we got a solid connection, but fucking then.
Cardiac arrest, he's in VFib.
Oh my god, this is it! The missing piece! This was finally going to be the game that would completely break Big Boss, and we finally get to see him step into the role of the big bad of Metal Gear. All your buddies dead, your house dead, arm dead for months, dogs, months. I watched the trailers, the analysis of the trailers, every new trailer teasing more and more juicy details. At one point, you even see kids with guns. That bald guy looks like that bald guy. This was going to be the game that bridges it all together. The most cinematic Metal Gear Solid game ever. And then the game was released. Despite having one of the best intro prologue chapters I'd ever played, there weren't many surprises because almost every single scene made an appearance in one of the many trailers. Scenes shown off in the trailers were either just flat out not in the game or changed to in-game moments, or just straight up ripped from other moments in the game to show off trailer that never happens in the game. Like, I'm 100% sure that this is the same animation as this, it's just shown through a different angle with a different background. And to top it all off, the game ends on a cliffhanger that is never resolved because they never completed the ending. So much just felt missing. Most of the storytelling is told through radio calls with characters that you'll never see. A handful of scenes from the trailer are just optional, like if your base builder morale gauge drops, you get a cutscene that has no impact on the story or the world around it. Like, I thought this cutscene was gonna be some major emotional moment in the game. I beat the game without ever triggering this cutscene, so I just assumed it was cut out like other moments. The story remains the same regardless of whether you trigger this cutscene or not. That sucks. It's just visit your base more. Don't forget to use the optional base builder mechanic, Snake. So when I heard the voice acting for Big Boss, I wasn't disappointed that they had changed the voice because I felt that it was going to fit the more dramatic tone. But no, guess what? Big Boss rarely ever says anything. But not just that, you're not even Big Boss. You're your own made-up character. But you're not even your own made-up character. You're a medic from the prologue mission who was apparently Big Boss's best soldier. And look, I know the gameplay itself is amazing. It's fun as all hell. I get that. I know the story is going to be looked back on someday as forward thinking like Metal Gear Solid 2 was. What it's light on content, it's rich on commentary, it's very meta in its discussions and themes. I even think the "you are Big Boss" plot twist is pretty clever. But in the context of Metal Gear and the world it had built up to this point, Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain, did nothing to advance the story of Big Boss other than sprinkle in some context. You could even make the argument that you can't trust any established plot points given that Metal Gear often deals with topics of government propaganda. Is Venom Snake real, or is MGS5 just a story swapped around mercenaries on the battlefield? Stories about soldiers so legendary it's as if they had a body double. I guess. But man, after the prologue mission, Big Boss is not directly involved with the plot at all until the very end, and he's just shooed away. And I've seen plenty of people say Ground Zeroes at the beginning was the breaking point, and at this point, he is now the big bad, the Link. And I guess, but I'm gonna need a little bit more meat and potatoes than that. All the trailers had this theme of revenge and how venomous and self-destructive it is, so I thought Big Boss is gonna go off the deep end, just fully commit to this battle with the shady Illuminati running the US government, and we'd see his fall from grace and how this madman eventually became Solid Snake's mentor. How exactly did he ever convince the US government to take him back? That's what I thought this game was gonna show. Big Boss would just keep facing setback after setback, fighting for revenge, doing more harm to himself until he reaches the lowest point where he has no choice but to surrender to the US and begin biding his time as he secretly continues being the bad guy in Metal Gear. I thought MGS5 was going to tell a story where you feel for Big Boss, but you also see his descent into madness, a tragic villain, but a villain nonetheless. It doesn't matter. Yeah, I know it's on me for having expectations, but come on, I applaud Kojima for doing something different. The man was supposed to be done with Metal Gear Solid 2. He had introduced a new character and had touched on similar themes of the player is a stand-in for Snake. I get that. Kojima is a brilliant man. There's no doubt about it. But come on, even though it's been almost a decade since this game was released, as of the recording of this video, I still feel it whenever I watch these trailers. Even knowing what happens, I still feel the disappointment, the sinking feeling of what could have been the most amazing part of the Metal Gear Solid story, the most cinematic, heart-wrenching, darkest chapter in the Metal Gear Solid lore. No Metal Gear game had ever come close to this, and for a franchise that was always touted as being more movie than game, can ya blame me for feeling blindsided when we got a Metal Gear Solid game that was finally more game than movie, especially with trailers like this? Could there be a more appropriate title than Phantom Pain, the perception of pain in a missing body part? MGS5 is done. It's gone. It came. It left. It has its fans. It has its non-fans. And I can still feel the crushing disappointment. That helicopter scene, I am 99% sure it was in the game. We just see it from a back angle. Imagine getting hyped for a trailer and then none of it appears in the final product.